So, in the Excel file, in the preliminary screening tab, you can see all the countries that the company has already selected. And what you need to do is to create some criteria for selecting these countries. You can do it manually. For instance, you can just select countries that achieve some criteria. For instance, suppose that you believe that you need to have at least a country with at least 10 million people. So you can just highlight countries with more than 10 million people living there. It will be your first criteria. But as you can see, it will be really hard for you if you try to do that in that way. For you, reducing this list manually, it will be almost impossible. So what I advise you to do is to create some filters in this Excel file to reduce this list. Indeed, the preliminary screening is basically when you reduce this list using filters. So basically you're filtering, you're reducing, you're creating a more narrow list of countries. As you can see here in the top of the file, each of these buttons represent a filter. And you can use any of these for filtering out your countries. For instance, suppose that I want to select countries with more than 10 million people living there. I just need to click with the left button here, and then I can select the number filters, and for instance, greater than 10 million. If I do that, you'll be able to see that now I have a reduced list of countries. Only countries with more than 10 million people living there. I can look to other criteria. For instance, I know that the higher the cage distance, the worse for my business. So what I can do, I can narrow this list. I can select some countries that are not so far away from mine in terms of cage distance. Let me say, I'm going to click with the left button. And I'm going to select here number filters. And now I want to select countries with less than a given number. For instance, let me say 80,000. Now I'm going to select just countries with 8,000, but I still have a lot of countries, so I need to keep filtering countries. For instance, I can reduce select countries with a certain level of GDP per capita. We have some poor countries here, and probably they are not good for my business, I may think. This is something that you need to discuss and figure out. Let me say that I'm going to operate only with countries with more than $30,000 of GDP per capita. So I can click here with the left button and select number filters and greater than 30,000. And OK. As you can see, now I have a really narrow list of countries. I can try to go deeper on that. For instance, let me say that I believe that I want to only focus on countries with greater population. Let me say that 10 million is not enough. For instance, I believe that Belgium is a really small country, or Netherlands. Let me say that I'm going to work only with countries with more than 50,000 people living there. So I'm going to change here the criteria, click with the left button, filter numbers, greater than 50. So it will be 50 million people. Now I have a list of 4 countries. So for the step 1.1, what you need to do, just select 4 countries. In my case, now I have 4 countries to go to the next stage.